Hello and welcome back to the Art of Parenting. This is your host, Jeanne-Marie Pennell, and today I am with Miss Amber Jayne. And Amber, thank you so much for making the time to be here and to talk a little bit about preschool and parenting and mothering and all those beautiful things. So Amber, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Oh, perfect. I always like to get started with asking my guest how they define the art of parenting.
Wow, that's a really great question. I think to each their own, of course. I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say is that each your parenting style is yours to embrace and to give the grace to to yourself and with your kids. Yeah, I would say always internally check your parenting style because we have the answers always within us. And it's really easy to compare us looking over a fence to someone else. But I think my encouragement would be just really follow your inner compass and what feels good for you and what's right for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. That we are the artists, right?
We are the
Of this
artists.
art. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And before we get started, I would love for you to introduce yourselves to our listeners, to our viewers, a little bit about your background and how you came to do the work that you're doing today.
I am the mom of four. They are all adults now. My youngest daughter just turned 18, and I have actually been in the early childhood education field since I was 19 years old, so almost 30 years. I am dating myself. Um, I love kids. I love teaching. I love all things 0 to 5. Well, anything that revolves around kids. I've really enjoyed the parenting journey, the whole parenting journey. But I've been working in the field. I opened up my first preschool when I was 23 years old after having my first child. I always envisioned myself as a stay-at-home mom. That's what I thought I was going to do. I was going to make the cookies and 4 months into it, as much as I wanted to be a mom and I loved my son, for me, I felt like I needed something else. And so I opened up my own preschool in my home, built a classroom on my house. And we started with 4 kids. Two were paying, two were free. And in 6 months, I had 48 kids and a
Wow.
full staff. I hired 3 staff. So I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I wasn't raised with like business knowledge, and it just kind of grew from there. And it's just been my joy and passion. And I've opened up 8 schools along the way. And now, all my kids are grown up, and it's just my time to share everything that I've learned. I really want to come alongside other people that own their own daycares, home daycares. I ran successfully for 9 years in my house before I went commercial, went to the bigger centers, but I'm just really, really passionate about high quality early childhood education. I just think there needs to be more people who love kids out in the world providing great education. So that's a little bit about me. I now kind of speak and just share all my knowledge, all my failures and success, because I really want to see other people succeed.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that is so needed. High quality preschool is great. So I'm assuming that your book, The ABCs of Preschool, is for people who want to open preschools. Is that what it
Yeah,
is mostly for?
yeah. Yes, it's a guidebook. So
Okay.
it actually, I would even say if you own one currently, if you
Okay.
have a home daycare currently, and you may be struggling, the book's for you as well. So it
Okay.
is a guidebook to thrive for the long haul. I've been running my schools for 24 years. And so I just dive into every chapter. It's literally like, here you go. Here's how to open one. But also, if you already have one open, here's how to how do you hire your staff? How do payroll and your curriculum and your philosophy and just kind of all of it. So, yeah. And I really try to bring in a lot of personal stories. I'm very honest with my failures and my struggles. And I think even if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, it has a lot of business ownership in it and just the struggles we do have running businesses.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so that's perfect because I wasn't sure if it was, for parents like to learn, about preschool and so forth. And I know that, you mentioned high quality preschool. How does one determine? So I'm thinking of, the parents that are listening or watching the show that they're wondering, well, how do I determine what is a high quality preschool? Like, what would be kind of the guidelines that you would give, not an owner of a preschool, of course, but a parent that is looking for high quality?
I call it my four senses rule. And I know we have five senses, I know that, but when you when you walk into a home daycare, a child care center, preschool, really, really follow your senses. So the first one is sight. Obviously, when you walk in, you want it to look clean, you want it to look engaging, you want it to look organized. I think really big red flags if it looks unorganized, if it looks chaotic, then it's dirty, right? So your looks, your sight, that is really, it's going to tell you a lot. Smell is another really big thing. How many times have we gone into centers and preschools if you're, on a tour and it smells horrible?
And you're
And I
holding
do
your
want to
nose through the
Yes,
tour,
but
and you're like, no.
exactly. And I want to give grace to the providers because when you're working with little ones, there's a lot of stuff coming out of them, right? So you may walk in just at the time where someone's changing a diaper, but the overall smell should be pleasant because I'm huge with smell and my staff know it. Like when I walk into your classroom, it better smell really good, really fresh and clean. Like I've been drilling that into them for 24 years. So the next one is hearing. How does the school sound? Do you want to hear laughter? You want to hear kids engaged? And you really want to hear the teachers talking really kindly to the kids. So really listen. I'm a big fan of music. So in our classrooms, we have music playing. It just brings up the mood. Kids learn really well with music. So you really want to listen as well. And then the last is feel. So I'm all about you want the warm fuzzies, right? Like,
Mm.
how do you feel when you walk in? How do you feel when you leave? Did you get the little goosebumps? Did you just feel like this is it? Or did you feel like, oh no, like listen to your feelings, your spidey senses, but you really should get the warm fuzzies and you will just know your intuition will tell you like this is the school for you.
Yeah. And I love that you say all that because I don't know if you know, but my background is Montessori education. So I was in a Montessori classroom for many years. And I often get the question from parents is like, how do you choose a good Montessori school? So we know Montessori was never copyrighted. So there's some good ones and there's not, some other ones that are so. And I always say what you just said is like, no matter what schools, Montessori or any other thing, is go and observe and see how it feels to you, right? Because you're going to let your child be in that environment for a few hours every day. So you want it to feel good. You want it to smell good and look good and all of that, right? So I love that you bring it back to something that is it's not academic. It's not about high quality of the academics, but it's that nurturing environment that we want our little ones to be in. So I love that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think so many times we can think only academics, as parents of little ones, sometimes we can be so focused on the end result. Where are they getting to college that we have to remember that they're little one time. And when you have the love in place and the nourishment in place and the kindness and the respect, your kids are going to flourish and then the academics are going to come. And if you're missing that foundation of the love and the respect and the trust, they're really going to have a hard time wherever they're at. They really, really are going
Yeah,
to have
they're not going to
a
want
hard
to
time.
learn. So
They're
that's,
not going to want to learn.
yeah, yeah. Wonderful for that. And so you said that you've been doing this since you had your first one. So basically you've been a working mother and, running your own business and all of that. How have you managed all these years? Like, did you have help? Did you have your children with you in the schools? Like, how did you manage with four little ones?
I did a lot of juggling.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, I really set up my school around my kids too.
Okay.
Um, in a sense where as I was having my own kids and as I was having the business grow, I would bring in help. So I may teach just maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I might have just taught like part time. So I had the flexibility of dropping my kids off at school. And then at 3 o'clock, I was there to pick them up. But it is a lot of juggling, just as you're learning how to be a parent. We're also learning how to run a business and manage not only your work schedule, the kids' schedule, your life with your partner. It can get really overwhelming and really, stressful. And I'll be really frank, at 31, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 31. Which was a really big wake up call because I think the first few years of running my business, like probably any entrepreneur or anybody that has a business, it's a lot of trying to figure out. And, as someone who just really wants the best for all our clients, and, I struggled with perfectionism, probably even as a mom and a business owner. And I wanted everything to be perfect. But in reality, that is not perfect. We're not the perfect parent. We're not the perfect mom. We'll never be. And as much as we try our very best, we're not the perfect, business owners. So, I think it took me years to finally learn that and really set boundaries. I'm really, really an advocate of really healthy boundaries because when all is said and done, when at the end of our life, I don't think any of us are going to talk about our career. We're going to talk about our relationships. And so I really made it a priority. My kids came first, then the business. And then I worked everything around that. So whether I needed to bring in teacher or a director, if I needed to nurse at this time, I had someone step in. When my kids were younger, they were at my school, so it made it easier. But I just have always made it a priority. And I'm really thankful I did because it really does go fast. Like I can't believe my youngest just turned 18 and
Yeah.
it really goes, everybody tells us, but it truly does go fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that you are well and that scare must have been very scary with a family. Did you already have the four children when you were diagnosed?
Yeah,
Wow.
I had all my kids, and yeah, it took me about a year to get that diagnosis because I was so young and I did not have a family history. And that's something else too, as moms, as people in education in general, parents, we are such nurturers, right?
Yeah.
We want to give and give and give to everybody, to our kids until there's nothing left in us. And I just really walked down that path. I was constantly giving and in very stressful situations. And I, got diagnosed with breast cancer and it was a wake up call. And I've had many health issues over the years. And so I've really just had to learn that balance. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through that experience to learn that lesson, but such an important lesson to learn, right? Because our body is going to say, "Wait a minute here, you got to take better care of yourself." So,
Yeah, and to be
yeah,
good moms, to be good parents, we have to take care of ourselves. It's like the airplane, right? If we're on an airplane
right,
and the oxygen masks come down, you have to take care of yourself first to take care of, you just got to take care of yourself first so you are the best version for your kids.
exactly, exactly. So, tell me, Amber, with the almost quarter of a century experience of working with both parents and young children, are there any like changes that you've seen or things that are evolving in parents, maybe different concerns that you didn't have 25 years ago and that you see now? Like what has been, if you, had that bird's eye view of seeing how things have evolved, what would you say today?
I have seen a shift actually from COVID in our schools,
Okay,
and
so more
I
recent.
see, yeah, and I mean, I think it's been gradual, but really, I feel like since COVID, a lot of our COVID babies coming through are now kids. I'm seeing a lot more speech delay, fine motor delays. Um, but I think there's a shift happening, which I am really excited about. I think there's a big shift of less academics and
Oh,
a push for less. I think there's a push now more. I'm hearing more and more people want more play for their kids, more outdoor time, more, gardening time, nature. I think for a really long time, as I ran my schools, there was a huge push for academics and kindergarten readiness. And as I say this, I'm really saying we still need to have that. We need to have our children ready for kindergarten. We need to have them build their confidence, in a classroom of 30. But there is a shift. I'm seeing more and more people really want their kids to be kids and to really enjoy these years in a different way, because I think people are realizing more and more once they get to elementary school, it's just so heavily academic based.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and
I
I
like
think,
that. That's very
yeah,
positive to hear that.
I
That
think it, I think
yeah,
it's a really great thing, because I think there's so much learning too that happens hands-on and outside and in nature, the creativity, and then those kids with speech delays, they're not feeling left behind, because it's just more of a, I don't know, it's just more of a play base and let our kids be kids. I'm really, really, really hearing that more and more. And even on different it's a huge push. And a lot of people are taking their kids when they get to elementary, are taking them out of traditional schools altogether.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I feel, it's true. Like for me, since COVID, there's been a big upsurge of homeschoolers, for example, right?
Yes.
Of people realizing like, wait a minute, they were not happy in school and they're learning so much at home, and we can have hands-on and we can cook together and go explore together and all this. So I know that's not available to all families because, we've got to work and put, food on the table and so forth. But those who can manage that, and I have working parents, they're both working, but they're working from home. So they're managing kind of their schedule with their children. I've seen, definitely a big uptick on that since COVID. So,
Yeah, I think people more and
yeah.
more are realizing, well, especially if you have multiple kids. So I have four kids. Two did really well in traditional school, and two struggled their entire schooling. And just like you said, some people aren't, as much as I wanted to homeschool my two youngest, their dad did not want that. So I did have to navigate my way through traditional school, and really was an eye opener for me. So I think a lot of people are realizing that all of us are unique, our children are unique, and not all kids fit into a box. And I really think that unfortunately, I mean, I could talk all day on this, but our school system is set up for a certain child.
Yes.
And all the other kids who do not fit in that box feel like failures their entire schooling journey. And it's so unfortunate, because they're not.
Right. Right.
They are they're going to be our future entrepreneurs. They're our artists. They're the creatives. There's just so many different ways to learn. So, and I want to say too, if you can't homeschool, just really be an advocate for your child and be involved all the time. I had to do that with my two youngest, and it was very difficult navigating
Yeah.
my way through the school system
Yeah.
with them.
And when you say, I think when you say also be an advocate for your child, I think it's very, very important to keep tabs on what's going on, what are the policies, what is being taught, all of that, and have a say. Like this is, I mean, if
Yes.
especially if it's public education, we do have a say. If it's private education as well, you're a client of the school, you have a say.
Absolutely.
So very important to keep tabs of what's going on. Thank you for that. Also, like within, your 25 years of experience, have you seen a difference too with the children with kind of, I feel more and more digital devices in their hands? Has that influenced your, how you see children learning today?
Yes. I think the kids, I don't know, maybe the last 5 or 6 years, attention spans are different. I mean, just as adults as well, but I do think technology are these young kids only will know technology and only know things to get instant gratification just like that. So I think just all around attention, it's just harder for kids to sit longer. It's harder for them to stay focused a little bit more. But I do see technology, but it is just the way of life as well. So as educators, we just have to evolve, right? And we have to figure out different ways how to
Yeah,
serve our kids.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I
do
would, I
think the
would,
technology
yeah,
of it,
yeah, yeah. I'd have a little
I mean,
pushback on that because for me, as educators, I think it's important that we voice our concern to the parents that we serve, right? To say,
yeah,
like, maybe your child shouldn't be watching so much stuff before
100.
school or what. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm going to say it right now. They really shouldn't. And there's so many, I mean, I don't know how frank to get, but it is very concerning a lot of times because I could have 4-year-olds coming through my doors and they're literally playing video games that I wouldn't even let my 16-year-old play with. And then what we're seeing is then they're just learning all this behavior from screens and from social media. It's a very dangerous game because when we hand our children phones and stuff, it's so easy to accidentally get to other things. And there's a flip side when they get to junior high and high school, the amount of loneliness and depression and isolation that kids are feeling today. I mean, I just had a really raw conversation with my 18-year-old daughter. And she said, our generation is the most loneliest generation, mom. Like, we're all so
yeah,
lonely and we're so depressed. And I think we have to look at that already now in the early years. And we have, when I was raising my kids, we didn't understand, the phones were new. Everything was kind of newer of like
right,
phones and
right.
like, so we didn't have the data yet. And now we're having it. And it's a really, at my daughter's high school graduation, there was multiple empty seats from suicide.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's why I really feel very strongly about this because I think we have to back our steps up and we really have to protect our young kids from technology. We're going to have to teach and train them because it's not going away, but it truly does affects all of
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah,
It does. It just affects us all. And imagine little ones, little
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
They're so impressionable.
yeah.
So I really think it needs to be a topic talked about more and acknowledged. And there's a lot of harm that's coming
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
road.
And I will say that I feel that we are talking about it more. I mean, when we see, in the news, there are definitely, like trying to stop, just like the tobacco industry and the food industry at some point had to put warning labels, like we're going to have to start putting warning labels so that the parents don't, just hand over this stuff that is just not good for our children's mental health. So I do, I mean, I'm feeling,
much faster. They're growing up, unfortunately, so much faster.
Right,
And then, do you know, because they have so much information, adult information at their
right,
fingertips.
right. Internet in their pocket, as somebody said
Yes.
it. Yeah, very, very important. Anything else that you have kind of maybe seen, or you talked a little bit about speech delays, which I'm wondering why, and maybe because everybody's on their phone and not talking to the children. I don't know, but and you talked about loneliness. Anything else that you're seeing? Maybe more with the parents. I would love to know if because those are your clients, is the parents of these young children. Have you seen or noticed a difference in how people are parenting today from when you first started your preschool?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes. And
Do
um,
tell.
I'm trying to watch my words a little bit. So, I am a huge I believe that we need to teach our kids to be independent, and our job as parents are we want them to fly when they leave our home successfully and independent. But there has been a really big shift over the last decade, especially of I know we love our kids and we want the best for our kids. There's been a shift of doing everything for our kids. And um like not even maybe having a really hard time putting jackets on, not wanting to carry their lunchbox, just really needing way more help, even from like maybe needing help feeding themselves, things like that. Um, so that in I've definitely seen that in the last decade of a very do everything for the children. And of course, when they get to preschool, that's not how it goes.
Right, right.
We teach them because it's really important and kids are capable. And I just did a show on this as well. So just as we want to get praise for things and we accomplish our goals and we feel really good about that, so does our kids.
Right.
So I would encourage parents, like, have them help you cook dinner, have them help you plan the menu. I did that with my kids. When they got a little older, they each picked a night. They each had to write their menu, they had to write their grocery list, and they cooked alongside with me. My kids always had chores. If they wanted something, they had to work for it. I think we need to not be afraid of letting our kids work for things because the reward at the end is so amazing. They feel so good about themselves. Just like my kids, they had to save up money for their car and then we would match whatever they saved up. And let me tell you how proud they were and how much better they took care of their cars because they were invested.
Right.
And so I just think we need to shift a little bit more and know that our kids are capable and they are proud and they want to be able to do things on their own. And it's okay for them
Right.
to do things on their own. They're not going to do it perfect. They're going to do it messy, but it's okay. Let them try, let them do things because it builds their self-confidence. And as parents, we want them to go confidently in the world,
Yes, yes.
you know?
Oh, I
So,
love I love everything that you shared, Amber, because it's music to my ear, especially, with my Montessori background, is really about just understanding how capable children are and that they want to be doing things for themselves. So when we do things for them, we are getting in the way. We are an obstacle to their self-esteem, to their confidence, all of that. So I love that. And yes, I encourage children to do, all the things that are happening in the house with you, especially the cooking, all of that is just wonderful. So it kind of makes me sad that is your observation of what is happening. So we need to really help parents understand, like, being a good parent is not doing everything for your child.
Yes. Yeah, and hopefully the pendulum will start swinging. I do think it's about to start swinging a little bit because more and more people are taking a really hard look at education in general and the structure of things. And do I truly want that? And do I truly believe in that? My takeaway is I think we're going to start seeing a shift. And I think that's going to trickle down to even how we raise our kids,
Wonderful.
because I think more and more people are really stepping back and saying this is not working
Right.
anymore to our school
To our school
system.
systems and even to in our
Yeah.
families. I mean, I think, when we do everything
Yes.
for our children, we have entitled little dictators that are really unpleasant to be around. So, yeah,
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So I think we all just need to take a look, and every generation kind of switches back and forth, but I hope that we're now on we need to, it's okay. We don't want entitled
yeah,
little
yeah,
kids,
yeah,
and
yeah.
kids. We want strong, independent, and capable.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you
So,
for being honest about that, because I think you're in the best position to witness that, right? Especially with your years of experience, you see parenting evolve in certain ways. So thank you for sharing that. So Amber, you mentioned that you have four children, that your youngest is 18. What about your eldest?
he is 23. Yeah, I have three boys and a
Okay.
daughter. So I have a 23-year-old,
So
22
my
year
my
old,
youngest
20,
is
and 18.
23. But so
Oh,
if you
okay.
were to go back 24 years ago when you were expecting your first child, what wise words would you tell yourself knowing all that you know today?
It's a really good question. I think I would tell myself to let it be,
Mm,
like not worry so much about all the little details, like the house or the dirt, like the chores. I think I would just tell myself just to let it be, and it is okay just to sit on the couch and hug your child, like hug my son. And you don't have to worry about all the need to do's, because you will never, ever, ever get that time back.
right.
You really won't. And our kids only want to really be with us, near us. Once they turn 10, I forget the stats. It's like, I think 70% of your child raising is like by 10 or 12 or something like that. Once they're 10, like, and they start like sports and stuff like that, you just have a
Yeah,
small window. So let it be. And just everything else can just go away to the
yeah,
wayside because it's not important.
yeah,
Except for your presence and being super present with your children. Like put the phones down and the TV off and just listen. So,
beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
And it also reminds me of what you said earlier about, perfectionism. Like I think that
Yeah.
definitely gets in our way, especially when we're just starting out our parenting journey. Well, thank you, Amber. That was beautiful. Any parting words that you would like to leave our listeners and viewers with today?
I think my biggest thing is always just really live intentionally
Mhm.
and having the grace within to know, yeah, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. One of the best lines I remember telling my kids, I don't know how old they were, but I said, I'm learning to be your mom just as you're learning to grow up.
Mm.
And that's just a reminder I want to leave. We're all learning and navigating the best that we
Yes,
can.
thank you for that. And so true. Thank you so much. And thank you, Amber, for making the time to be on the Art of Parenting today.
Thank you for having me.